City Matters.
Hello and welcome to HMTV. I'm your host, Bernie Furshpan of the podcast series, Ordinary Heroes. We have a young man here who's done some extraordinary things. He's quite a hero. He's involved with many different projects, but he's also a recent graduate of John Jay College in New York City. I'd like to welcome Max Niederman. Thank you, Max, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
So you recently graduated. When did you graduate?
I graduated from John Jay College in January of 2024.
Oh, so it's just a year that you're out. And
Yeah.
You're obviously looking for a career in the field that you studied, which is history.
Yes.
You like history.
I love history, especially American history.
You won 4 years in a row.
The school geography B, correct?
And how much studying is involved with it? Are you a naturally brilliant person that you don't have to do much studying? Me, I had to study twice as much as the other students.
Oh, wow. Well, not to brag, I think like geography and history and politics are just topics that I'm naturally good at. Math was like one of my worst. Barely passed it, had to get all sorts of tutors and everything to pass it. But history, that's one of my top subjects. I like learning about different people, different places, and that's why I'm so passionate about the topic.
What places on this planet do you find very fascinating?
I find like most places pretty fascinating, especially our own country, the United States. Like I love learning about like American history from like the moment our country was founded by our founding fathers to today.
How did you complement your interest in justice and politics into the whole scheme of things?
Well, history has always been something that I've been very interested in, and politics and history kind of go hand in hand.
Well, your senior thesis.
Yes.
Okay? Why more Jewish Americans are voting Republican? Obviously, you're following that trend.
Yes.
Okay, you're seeing a trend there. Not to get involved with politics, but you did a study on this. And
yes.
This was part of your thesis. And exactly why is this, first of all, so timely? And what inspired you to explore this particular topic?
Well, I was trying to decide on different topics to do my senior thesis on. I had a professor that was really helpful. He was a great professor, and we were trying to discuss it, and he was saying, oh, you're a history major, you're Jewish, so why don't you do something with that? So the last few years, we've been seeing an increase in the amount of Jewish Americans voting Republican. Like in 2020, you saw Donald Trump actually get 43% of the Jewish vote in the state of New York, which is a record high.
What was it before?
It was much lower.
Mostly Democratic votes.
Yeah, Jewish voters have always been heavily Democratic, but lately they have been becoming more Republican, and there's various reasons for that.
Do you find that in politics in general that people kind of migrate from one party to another over a long period of time?
Yes.
Depending on what the policies are?
Yes, definitely. I think both parties go through changes. I think most of the time people's opinions tend to be the same, but if someone is aligned with one political party for a long time and they feel as though that political party isn't aligning with their beliefs and their values anymore, they might give another political party a chance.
How long did it take you to put this thesis together?
It took me pretty much the whole semester. Like I did like little bits and pieces of prep starting in late August when the semester started. Then I started writing it around like Thanksgiving time, and it was very easy to write because we were planning and prepping the whole entire semester. The professor was extremely, extremely helpful, great professor, and I was able to write this 20 or so page paper without really any problems at all. It was not too hard at all.
What did writing and thinking about this thesis actually teach you? How has it impacted your life?
It taught me a bit about Jewish history and Jewish political history. And there was some stuff that I found out while doing my research that I didn't necessarily know, that like in the late 1800s, there was a Jewish Republican activist in the late 1800s. And I also found out that the last time a Republican presidential candidate won the Jewish vote was in 1924 with Calvin Coolidge. But the last few years or so, we've been seeing the Republican Party regaining some ground with Jewish voters.
That's interesting. Anything else that's really fascinating that you learned about Jewish politics? How many Jews actually were interested in getting involved in politics? Is that a trend that has increased, or has it always been the same pretty much over the years?
I would say it's getting, I don't know, it looks like it's increasing a bit.
So more and more Jews are becoming more active with American politics.
Yeah, the same way a lot of other groups of people are starting to become more active with it too.
Now, you've been described, from what I understand, I did a little background research, as a hardworking and fast learner.
Yes.
And could you explain to us, with the work that you've done in the past, now you may have worked during the summers or while you were in school, you learn very quickly, from what I understand. How has this allowed you to go over and above your requirements or expectations from your employers?
I try to work as hard as I can on everything that I do. I didn't start even speaking until I was 3 years old. So from the moment I was born, everything was a challenge for me. So school, I worked very hard. Math was a very difficult subject for me, and it really impacted my high school career because there was always this anxiety, am I going to pass math this year? Am I going to pass math this year? And, that was scary. And luckily, other subjects like, social studies, I got really, really good grades in, so that helped me a lot. And with my current job right now I'm just working, a minimum wage job. But when I did get the job, there was some training involved, but I paid attention very closely. I got good at it. I help the customers. Like if there's an older person that needs help putting stuff in their car, I'll do it even if the stuff is very heavy. If someone needs help reaching something on a shelf, I'll do it. And right now I'm looking for other opportunities. Like I would love to do something that goes hand in hand with my history degree, like what my passion is.
But you've gone over and above what people typically do in their communities. For 2 years, you helped a homeless person.
Yeah,
this to me is more than just an ordinary hero. So most people kind of shy away. They look the other way. They don't really participate. They don't try to help in any way. But you did for 2 years. And tell us how you did that.
Yeah, so there was this homeless gentleman, Vietnam War veteran. He goes through the garbages looking for bottles. And for the last few years, I was giving him some money. I did stop, though, because it was starting to become hard to afford to give him all this money. But, I still see him around in the community. We still talk.
So this is your money that you worked for?
Yes.
So a certain percentage of that, you gave it to him every week?
Yes. Yes.
And how did that help him?
Well, he would use it to get food and stuff.
He was in such a bad way that the community actually didn't help a veteran?
Well...
wasn't there any kind of veteran affairs that tried to... help him out
that,
in any way, perhaps give him shelter, food?
Yeah, so that I'm really not sure of. I know there were other people in the community that were looking out for him and helping him, but I don't know if there's any, veteran affairs like type of thing in the 5 towns area that would help him. That I'm not too sure about.
You are known to have some excellent communication skills, and you want to use it to some degree in providing some public service. What kind of public service are we talking about here?
I would like to run for some sort of political office.
This would be a local or regional?
Well, it would be smart to start off local.
Very local.
Yeah, because that's more simple, and then work my way up.
Do you think you might get the support that you're looking for? Have you spoken to other people about your ambitions?
Yeah, of course.
Right. And what have they said to you?
Well,
Are they encouraging?
Well, my family believes that I should do anything that I want to be.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yep.
Right? The fact that they're supporting you is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to some people in the community about possibly running for, what would it be? What would be some of the local
like maybe
service
legislature or something like that.
I see. In Nassau County, would you say? Or local village, town, city?
That I'm not really sure about. The thing is, though, I am planning on moving out of state maybe in a few years. So I don't know if it would be in New York where I do something.
I understand.
But I do care about my community like a great deal, and I would love to contribute to help make, Long Island and New York State a better place.
I have a very good question for you. You know history pretty well.
Yeah.
And you won the geography B for 4 years. So you know geography pretty well. You probably know certain civic leaders that had an impact over time in history. Tell us what moments or figures in U.S. history inspired you the most?
Yeah, so that's a very difficult question because there's so many people.
Right. So you name like the top 5. Go one at a time. Top 5 moments in history or figures in history.
I think like George Washington was a great man because he helped, build our country from nothing into the great nation that it is today. He fought the British, and then when he became president and he, helped build up our country. Thomas Jefferson, he expanded our country a great deal.
Any special moments in history that were really special for you?
I would say, like the World War II, because, this is a Holocaust museum.
Right.
So the Holocaust is a very important topic, and many people, especially younger generations, have forgotten about the Holocaust, and it's very sad. And I think it's because, educators aren't teaching enough about it. And social media, there is a lot of Jew hatred on social media, and a lot of young people are on social media, and that's a big problem that needs to be addressed.
You probably already know this, but this coming week, I believe, is 80 years of the liberation of Dachau and Buchenwald, the camps. And a lot of vets were killed during World War II, and many were honored for liberating these camps. What are your feelings about that?
I think, it's great that the camps were liberated, obviously. It was a very hard fought war, and there were a lot of people that were impacted very negatively, and we still feel a lot of the effects of the Holocaust today. And we did a great thing, by helping the Jews in Europe be liberated and saved from Nazism and fascism.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that face your particular generation, and how are you going to deal with that?
I think one of the biggest challenges facing my generation is, finding a good job. I've been searching for a while, trying to find something that I would love to do, something that goes along with my degree, and it's very hard for people in my generation to find a job. And it feels like a lot of the things, like for my parents' generation, like finding a job, buying a house, those things were a lot easier during those times than it is for my generation, and we're at a great disadvantage.
As you know, anti-Semitism is rampant. Hate is rampant. Your generation is inheriting a broken world.
Yes.
It's going to be on your plate. As somebody who's going to serve the community, what are you going to do to inspire people to rise above and beyond prejudices and bias and hatred?
Well, like you said, anti-Semitism is very high, and it feels like a lot of the anti-Semitism is occurring on the college campuses. Like, you're hearing about what's going on with Columbia, and, all these students that are camping out in the campus. They're damaging property, not letting Jewish students enter the building. And I think it's because the college professors are not doing a good enough job educating the students about like what's really going on with Israel and the thousands of years of history behind this whole conflict. And there's definitely a lot of hatred for Israel that isn't even true.
Right. It's based on a lot of disinformation.
Yes.
and propaganda is still popular. Back then, Hitler, it took him, 12 years to convince his people to vote for the Nazi Party? Today, it can take minutes to hours to days to convince people through disinformation, lies, to hate a group of people. Well, where do you see social media and this new technology and AI? Where do you see it impacting your future generations?
Well, I think most people in my generation get their information from social media. Whenever I go onto Instagram, I see a lot of hatred towards Israel, about how Israel is committing a genocide, when in reality they're just defending themselves. And unfortunately, there were some Palestinian civilians that did die, which is just, one of the consequences of war. Civilians die. Unfortunately. Yeah.
And so really what you're saying is that social media is not really a news outlet. It's more opinions. It's about things that people fabricate.
Yeah.
Well, what do you suggest to your generation in terms of getting the facts? What kind of research? How do they vet information?
I think people just need to do research. Go online, do research, look at different sources, listen to different viewpoints. Because I feel like today, not just with my generation, but with older generations, it feels like all news is based on opinion, not just news you get on your phone through Instagram, like news on the TV. It's all based on opinions, and everyone just watches the same thing, and they're not listening to other viewpoints, and that's why there's so much hate between lots of different people today.
Well said. They're basically in echo chambers. They're listening to the same thing over and over again, and with social media, with the algorithms that constantly feed you the one thing that you were looking at, and now you're going to get a lot more of it. You start believing sometimes lies. And so hopefully people will wake up to the fact that you have to vet information, because even during World War II, many ordinary Germans were manipulated, lied, even coerced to believe that Jewish people and other minorities were subhuman, right? And that the master race, which is a race in itself, which doesn't exist. It's a pseudoscience, this eugenics, as you know.
Yeah.
It seems like it's repeating itself. It seems to me like history is repeating itself. And if my parents were alive today, 2 Holocaust survivors, they would be mortified.
About the anti-Semitism going on.
They would be mortified, because it's kind of like a repeat performance. And it all started that way. It started with microaggression and words of hate, and then propaganda. It seems like it wants to rear its ugly head again. But I think we're a little bit more sophisticated as a society today, and we have better communication tools to dampen some of that. So it's a fight. It's a fight, right? It's good against evil, but it's also facts against disinformation as well. Some people don't even know that what they're talking about is evil, is about hatred. They think they're doing the right thing.
Because I see interviews on social media of some of the anti-Israel protesters on the college campuses, and they were asking one girl, do you know what the chant "River to the Sea" means? And she had no idea. She was just doing this chant because that's what her friends told her to do.
Right. And so she was just another sheep in the herd.
And then when she found out what it meant, she actually stopped protesting.
So many of the Germans who were lied to and manipulated actually lived with a lot of guilt, a sense of guilt and regret. And this is what happens when you don't vet the information, the disinformation. It could lead to a crash and burn of that hate campaign, leaving many people injured, dead, and guilty. So before you get involved in anything like that, that's a message, right, for young people?
Yes.
Please find out. Do better for your society, right? Reach higher.
Yes.
Right? Bring people together. Don't be divisive in any way.
Exactly.
That's an important thing. Finally, I want to ask you one more question.
Yes.
What's one surprising or lesser known thing about you that people might be quite surprised to find out? What would you say it is?
Oh, wow.
That's a good question, right? Well, one thing that we didn't talk about that may come across as braggadocious, that about yourself. Well, what is it about yourself that you were proud of? Something that you're proud of that people may not know?
something that I'm proud of. Well, there's a lot of people that they don't necessarily know that, like, you know, I love history and stuff like that. Like, I won the Geography B 4 years in a row. Like, there's no one ever in my school district that won the Geography B 4 years in a row. And there's a lot of people that see me and they won't necessarily expect that about me.
Right. So unless they watch this podcast, it's not something that you're wearing around your neck with a sign that says, I won the Geography B 4 years in a row. But it's good to toot your horn because if we don't know about this, we wouldn't know how to praise you. So I congratulate you first of all for that. And what kind of awards did you win as a result?
It was just like a certificate, like a piece of paper. I didn't get like any cash or anything.
Right, but it's 4 years in a row. Is that a record breaker in your school?
Yes. Yep.
And I'm sure your parents were very proud of you.
Oh, yes, they were. But after like the third or fourth time, they weren't really so surprised anymore. Like my dad said, it was like the Yankees winning the World Series all those years in a row.
Yeah. Well, it was a real pleasure speaking with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was really great.
Yeah, and it was a joy to hear your story and your personal takes on certain things. And I wish you the very best.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks everybody to those that were listening in, that eavesdropped on our little conversation here on HMTV of Ordinary Heroes. Hope you join us again for another episode, and follow us on social media and stay tuned for more podcasts from our various hosts and various series. Thank you so much.